I'm Cherylanne Skolnicki, and this is Brilliant Balance, the show for working women who are ready to shine. Each week, I bring you ideas, inspiration, and insight on balance, business, and getting it all done gracefully. You ready? Let's be brilliant. This is episode 129 of the Brilliant Balance podcast. And as we reach the 1 month mark of being mostly at home, at least here in Ohio, one thing I know that I have leaned really hard into in the last few weeks is my virtual community. Our Brilliant Balance tribe for sure has, really leaned into one another, virtually our client community and beyond. My family has found new ways of communicating with each other across distance. And, my neighbors are waving to each other from windows or from socially distances, as we're out on the street trying to get in as much outside time as we can. And everyone is connecting in new and in different ways. And while it's difficult and challenging, it's also really creative. So I thought today maybe what I would share are some of the best ideas that I'm seeing for how our community is rebuilding support virtually. And this episode was really born out of a conversation I had with the leader of a national women's network. And she was saying that, it was so clear to her that the village she had come to depend on was one she had started to take for granted. And I would say that is absolutely true of myself as well. And now that those normal support systems that we thought were just, unwavering have been altered, I'm watching us in real time, very creatively and very resourcefully start to rebuild them. So today I want to share just a few of these innovative ideas that I'm seeing clients and colleagues leverage to rebuild our villages virtually so that they can stay strong during this period of extreme strain. And I think it'll be interesting to see what elements of this we carry forward, which elements of the virtual village are valuable enough that we continue to use them, and which ones sort of recede into the background as we are able to connect with one another again. So I have a list of, maybe 10 different elements of what had previously been our in-person village that I'm seeing be reconstructed and reshaped virtually that I thought we could just dig into one by one. My encouragement to you is if you have been a little paralyzed and feeling like everything is being taken out from under you, find inspiration in today's episode for some things that you can put back in place, maybe differently than before, maybe less perfectly than before, but to get at least some approximation of that support back into your life. Okay? So the very first one that I think we have all become acutely aware of if we have children at home is teachers and the educational system that our kids have been a part of. And while I know there have been a ton of homeschool resources that now become mainstream, right? We've all learned these websites that homeschooling parents have been using for years. I think that the social and emotional support that teachers and fellow students provided is really something that the kids are trying to figure out how to recreate. One thing that has been especially helpful, and we tested this early on with mixed results and then kind of have gotten better at it as the weeks have gone by, is leveraging family members who may not have children of their own at home, for example, grandparents, who can be a part of the kids' sustained education while they're at home. So the best example we have figured out is how to use FaceTime for the kids, my youngest, to read out loud to my mom. And it's giving her the opportunity to keep up with that reading. It's fairly time consuming. She's got a really willing audience in my mom, and it's a way for them to stay connected and my mom to have a bit of that of the connection time with her grandchildren as well. We have also leveraged my mom, and people have told me they've leveraged siblings who don't have children and other relatives who maybe have a little more time on their hands than those of us who are trying to work and educate the kids at the same time to do things like studying for tests over FaceTime or Zoom. So if the study guide can get zipped off over email to the relative, then they really can quiz that child in the same way that you might do live and in person. So that ability to spread some of the educational time across multiple members of your village can be really powerful. And I would say you could even look to like your teenage babysitters, people that previously came to your house and watched the kids while you had a night out, could be very valuable for an hour or two a day to study virtually with your kids while they're trying to keep up with lessons. And I know everyone has a different amount of work being sent home. Our school has a fairly heavy load being sent home. And so it really is valuable time if someone else is able to help support that while you are continuing to keep, your work requirements, stay ahead of your work requirements. Okay, so that's the teachers piece of the village and school, right? And how we are attempting to recreate pieces of that virtually. Another one that has come up a lot is how much we relied on food service establishments to be a bridge, right? It was so second nature to stop in and get dinner on the way to practice or stop in and get dinner on the way to anything for so many families. And while takeout is still available and arguably really important to help support some of your favorite local restaurants and establishments, I think we're also realizing that cooking at home is something that is a skill a lot of us never learned. So this is a time when we're leaning into who can teach us how to make things. I'm seeing tons of people call their parents or call siblings or friends to say, hey, how do I make this? I have these few ingredients. I'm not sure what this is supposed to look like. And again, leveraging the technology like FaceTime to flip that camera around, or share by video what's going on your stovetop or what's going on your counter, and get some coaching through how to get the end result that you're looking for has been really powerful. So cooking is a massive passion of mine. I know I've done that for a number of people in the last few weeks, and it's a pleasure to share that skill when you have it with other people who are trying to learn it. So the food service community really is such an important part of our village, and supporting them through picking up carryout for some of your meals is certainly a good idea, but also a really good time to learn how to prepare some of those meals that you might be able to make at home. Hey friend, ever wondered why you're so tired all the time? Why you need that afternoon caffeine hit every day just to stay in the game? Hint, you probably need more sleep. So I created something just for you. It's a special guide to help you stop feeling so tired all the time. I'll teach you my best ideas to move from exhausted to energized so you can live out your brilliant dreams. Head to brilliantbalance.net/sleep and get your guide today. You're going to love this. Another element of this virtual village is the social time that we spent with friends. I think this is the one that everyone is so wistful about, not being able to just gather with a small group of friends for a meal or for a drink, to go for a walk or play a game of tennis, to have a game night. Those things have really been suspended for now. And so some of the most creative things I've seen are family game nights with other families. So this has been successfully done over Zoom, where you get the game out and so does the other family, and you have your family gathered around in front of one laptop and they have their family gathered in front of the other, and you can still have the conversation and you can still play the game together. So while it's certainly an imperfect proxy, I thought that was a really creative idea for families to do. And again, maybe knit a couple of these together. It could even be that babysitter who plays a game with your child that just keeps them occupied for 30 minutes or an hour, or your parents who might be willing to play a game with your kids and again, keep them occupied for 30 minutes or an hour. So I think that's another creative thing. And I think we've all seen the virtual happy hours where everyone has their own snacks and their own cocktails and are still connecting for the conversation that came with happy hour. Another example I've been super excited to see are what gyms and fitness centers and personal trainers have done in this time. So for so many of us, going to a gym regularly or going to a particular ballet bar studio or spinning studio or yoga studio was more than just a workout. It was a sense of community. It was an opportunity to see the same people and be a part of that collective energy. And so I'm really seeing these businesses step up to stream their classes, often for free, during this period of quarantine. And quarantine may be too strong of a word, but this period of time when we are at home, right? People are staying at home. So while those gyms and fitness centers cannot operate, right? They've been ordered not to operate. They've so generously said, look, we continue to be here for you. We will continue to support you by streaming our classes or creatively finding ways to put workouts in front of you. So I've loved seeing that. And I've loved seeing people chat along on those video streams and celebrate and encourage those instructors for giving their gifts to us during this time. All right, let's see. Another one that has been really cool is what coaches, like our kids' sports coaches and music instructors have done during this time. So my son plays guitar. He's taking his guitar lessons over FaceTime, which is more effective than you might have thought. Like the ability to do that lesson remotely is really working. We've seen coaches posting virtual workouts that their athletes can do to keep up with their training, and also hosting group chats with the team so they can stay connected to their teammates, which, as we all know, is so much a part of those sports and activities, is the time that the kids are spending together in pursuit of those common goals. Other places where I'm seeing this village rebuild itself virtually is therapists and mental health practitioners, as well as physicians and other physical health practitioners who are providing telehealth services. So the ability to still have that session with the adults or with children who need them, but to do it over the same technologies that we're using to stay connected with each other for work or socially. And so telehealth was something that was, not fully off the ground in many pieces of the healthcare industry and has really gotten a surge behind it out of necessity during this time. I think it'll be interesting to see how much of that can stick. Those virtual consults for certain things could be really powerful. Another thing that's been powerful in the virtual village are the entertainers and the artists. I am just so grateful for and so amazed by how the artists are still producing their art. I mean, it's like they know that they would shrivel up and die without it. And so you're watching things like Jimmy Fallon producing The Tonight Show at home, from his home with hand-drawn cards to hold up to the camera and his wife videotaping, to a while back Elton John's concert for Aid, to individual musicians who are just posting performances from their homes or creatively inventing new music and parodies that they're sharing with us. And it's such a gift that they're still giving those gifts through these entirely new mediums. Like, it's a way of tethering us together during this time that we could otherwise be so isolated. I truly cannot imagine what it would feel like to go through this chapter without the connection tools that we have at our disposal. And then one other one I'll mention is support groups. So 12-step programs and, WW, which used to be Weight Watchers, those therapy groups and support groups doing virtual meetings and figuring out quickly how to step into the gap so that people don't fall back into destructive habits has been really powerful to watch. And let's not forget Amazon Prime, which has been a big part of our virtual village now for a while and continues to be such a lifeline for important products without causing us to have to go out to get them. So while we know that this need for a virtual village is temporary, these ideas really can be a permanent addition to our support network as we return to our more interactive lives, if we choose to let them be. Right? It's a celebration of creativity. It's such a good example of necessity being the mother of invention. And I'm really paying attention to what are the things that are just now starting to emerge that we may never have thought of before that can become such important elements of our village going forward. So I would love to hear your ideas because I'm sure you have many that I have not yet seen or not yet thought of. So would you post them for me? Post them on Instagram, tag me, I'm at C Skolnicki, and then use the hashtag virtual village. And I will reshare the ideas that you may have for how you are staying connected and keeping your village strong during this period in history. And we'll share those out with the rest of the community so others can reapply. Okay? Next time on the podcast, I am going to be talking about emotional resilience and how to keep your head in the game no matter what life throws at you, even something as substantive as this. So till then, my friends, let's be brilliant.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.